So next week I'm heading to Chile to try and do the greatest vertical descent world record. The idea is to climb, it's the second highest peak in South America. I'm going to climb up to as high as I can get and then ride all the way back down to sea level. It's quite an unknown because there really isn't much information available. I don't really know how technical the peak's going to be and really if it's going to be possible to carry or even ride the bike down. This is the peak I'm aiming to climb. It's called Ojos del Salado. And you can see there's a big volcano crater towards the top, and then it just keeps on coming down and down. So there's a vehicle track to fairly high altitude, and then from there it'll be all very much hike-a-bike. And the peak's 6,900 meters, so we'll see how high I can get with the bike. So I've always wanted to do a big ride off a proper mountaineering peak, combining high altitude mountaineering with sort of technical downhill mountain biking. There are like a multitude of lots of different volcanoes in the area, so it means I was able to try one volcano, go a little bit higher, come back to base camp, go again a little bit higher. And the summit that we were aiming for has around about 60% less oxygen than sea level, so it's a pretty serious undertaking. So the original plan was to spend 3.5 weeks out there. I actually had a lot of snow forecast in, so we were sort of forced to make an early attempt before all the snow came. One of the hardest things is carrying and pushing the bike up, which weighs around 15 kilos. Really takes the wind out of you at that altitude, and you feel every step. I pushed through a fair bit of snow, and I was fairly confident I could ride a lot of it. But then it got to the point where it was getting so deep and it was steeper. I thought, realistically, I'm not going to be able to ride from here. So at that point, I left the bike and then continued on foot. I'm on the other side of the world and I'm pretty close to the top of this mountain, and it just seems stupid not to carry on to the summit. So at that point, yeah, I'd left the bike and I carried on foot, tagged the summit, back to the bike, and then started the big adventure. Once I'd come off the snow, then there was some sort of trails, some rocky, pretty technical terrain. Do you know what else is actually? My brake stopped working completely. So my rear brake, absolute total brake failure. I think there was air in the system, but at that altitude, the pressure is different, and therefore whatever air pressure is inside your brake system is much, much higher. So then I lost complete use of my rear brake. So I'm riding down like 30-degree snow slopes with just a front brake, and I can tell you that is not ideal. Then I eventually hit like more of a gravel track, which is a little bit more sort of mellow. After a big ride through some sort of plains below the peak, below the volcano, I reached this refuge, which was actually full of these really friendly Argentinian guys who welcomed me in and cooked me some dinner, and I was pretty cooked, so it was nice getting there. They gave me a beer and some decent food. So from the refuge onwards, it was quite mixed. There's sections where you have really flat plateaus in the desert, where you'd be looking at the same point on the horizon for 10, 20k that just seems to get no closer. There was one downhill section, and I'd worked pretty hard to get back up to this point, and then it just dropped and kept going on and on and on, and it was just this beautiful gravel road which was just winding its way through the valley, and it felt like eternity going downhill. I was riding along last night and the weather was coming in, and I came across this little shelter, which was really lucky because it absolutely hammered down last night, and the snow levels come right down as well. So yeah, good night's sleep. I'm going to press on, try and make it to Copiapo tonight maybe, but it's a long way, we'll see.
large stretch of desert road is pretty brutal. Belly goes up or down. It's now got a big headwind. Oh, I feel it. Just hiding by the sign to start the wind. It's not even 10 o'clock yet, and I'm dripping. The desert is hot.
I remember vividly sitting, hiding behind a rock, shielding from the wind, eating my last meal, being like, not knowing what to do and thinking, do I keep going? Do I try and slow down? Do I conserve my food? I got to the point where if I didn't just carry on, I'm going to have to spend another 24 hours in the desert with no water, no food, and I thought, that's not going to be a good time. So even though I was super tired and been riding for 12 hours, I was like, the only way is just to keep going through the night. It's like 6 p.m. and I'm running out of food and water, so I think I'm going to have to just crack on through the night, which will make for probably over a 200k day on a enduro bike with lots of weight. So I'm almost hallucinating and absolutely done in. And then the streets of the city at about 3 a.m. in the morning, just people having like bonfires on the street. It was all pretty scary. The next day then I head back out. Obviously I'd had a big day, but I was pretty keen to get it finished. And the thought of reaching the sea is obviously pretty exciting. Had another 100k ride over a few more hills, and it got real into the desert. You know, you could see mirages, it's just flat in loads of spaces. But I knew I was within the distance I was going to make it. And then I feel a cool sea breeze hit my face. So finally, 375k later, 6,300 meters of descent, I made it to the sea.